They too small, I got big dreams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to PunFun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Ryan, and we're going to check out episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you have not yet seen Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 5, please be sure to do so, as there are giant spoiler alerts ahead. We also suggest you check out Captain America Civil War, as there's a lot of elements that tie into that movie. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about Captain 2.0 being super privileged. We're going to talk about the title itself, which is The Truth. We're also going to talk about Isaiah Bradley, which, coincidentally, his book is called The Truth, Red, White, and Black. We'll get into that in a couple seconds. And lastly, we're going to talk about the Thunderbolts. So the Thunderbolts are a group of villains that come together that are banned by an agent. So, I mean, if I were to tell you, hey, there's some super-powered people being, assembled by a very not soldier, but I would say spy. You would think Fury, but in this case, it's not. And we'll get into that as well. But be sure to check us out and hit subscribe button to get the latest information, especially for episode 6, which is going to be a crazy finale. You do not want to miss that breakdown, and we definitely don't want to miss that episode as well. There is so much brewing. There is so much happening. We are just over the moon about it. Let's get into it. So we start off with Captain 2.0 running his ass off. He's committed his crime, taking the shield, slamming it straight through someone's chest, as as only we can imagine. And he is on the run. He is a fugitive, just like Captain Steve Rogers did. It is crazy the duality they have between each other. So you have the beard, you have his arm being broken off at some point. Especially when he pulls at Thanos, get that gauntlet off. No, I don't want to get it off. And then boom, snap. Well, something else snapped, but. Yeah, it is just insane. He finally gets, caught up by Bucky and by Sam. There is a brawl, kind of, not kind of fair. You have, Bucky and Sam both fighting this dude. Then again, Captain 2.0 is there to fight dirty, as we've seen, as he was also going to put the shield through Sam. So, no good. No good. Once the smoke is cleared, they finally get the shield. Well, Bucky finally gets the shield, hands it to Sam, and, doesn't say a word, but it kind of shows like that blood is on you. You caused, this to happen. And, if it wasn't for your actions, somebody wouldn't have died, But again, that's kind of why, Sam picks it up. He cleans the shield and he's like, oh my God, like, what's going on? What have I done? Anyways, we're going to get into also the balance of, the truth and the lies, the good and the evil. So while everyone's seeking the truth, and in this episode we get a lot of truth bombs in here. There's a lie that is very consistent. So we have John Walker telling everybody, or convincing everybody, especially himself. He's talking to the Shield. He's talking to Sam and Bucky. He even convinces Lamar's parents that the person that he straight up murdered was the person that killed Lamar, which we know isn't true. It was Carly that killed Lamar. So he's trying to justify it, but also convince himself and convince everybody else that this is the reason why, for his actions. He was trying to be a good soldier. And even throughout his trial, he was saying, I was the good soldier. I obeyed your rules. I followed every directive. Why am I being punished for something that you told me to do? Well, nobody told him to do that. Nobody pushed him to do it as well. It's his way of putting the blame on someone else. Kind of like, when you point the finger, you have 3 other fingers pointing back at you, and he's not taking that in consideration. He's just moving forward in his own little, world of his own little bubble world of his. And he's definitely losing his mind because he's now, confessing and talking to himself more and more often. Another takeaway is also the fact that everybody gets something damaged or, torn off. So in Bucky's, Bucky actually gets his arm, badly damaged. Cap loses not only, he breaks his arm, but he also loses the shield. And then Sam actually, gets his wings, plucked off him by Captain 2.0 which he then leaves to Torres. And again, we've mentioned Torres in the books actually becomes the Falcon, just that he mutates into an actual Falcon by the power broker. But in this case, he's given the wings. So I don't know if there's going to be like maybe a biotech kind of thing, a cyborg, mishmash, or he just may straight up, recreate wings, maybe even reconstruct Red Wing as he's already, tinkered with Red Wing before and created maybe his own suit. We're going to see that, maybe down the line. I don't think he's going to be a part of episode 6. But again, we could be wrong. So we are going to go back into court not court, but, that whole, his hearing, if you will. He leaves, he's not sentenced 30 years as Isaiah Bradley was. He is basically, a free man, but he's been, removed his pension. He's also removed all his benefits and privileges to some degree. And he gets to walk out, which he basically does. He just walks out and he sits down with his wife. Somebody comes up and approaches him, and, you can hear the click, clock, click, clock. The lady in high heels with the black outfit, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fountain. And if for a moment there you thought I did that with the first take, then you must be out of your mind. So she comes in, has a heart-to-heart with Captain 2.0, and she completely ignores, his wifey, gives her a card, just to keep her shut. And she basically tells him, hey, if you want to be in part of my team or you want to be some part of something bigger, let me know. So there's a fine line that's drawn here. We don't know if she's in it for his blood, knowing that he's the only person, not the only person, but some of the few that still have the super soldier serum in them. Whereas we know all the other vials have been, completely destroyed. Or it's, again, playing with the duality. You have Nick Fury and you have Val, one who assembles these great, superheroes to defend the world. The other, who is also a super spy, who is also one of Nick Fury's lovers, creates a group of villains to, cause havoc. So again, this is so cool. We've also, they've name dropped Smiling Tiger. We've seen Zemo. He can also be a part of it. So they're definitely orienting us towards the Thunderbolt, or at least initiating the Thunderbolt. And this is pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. It's another segue that, they're bringing in these kind of established characters and, going to build. Will they have their own movie? Maybe. Would it be kind of like the Suicide Squad? I don't know. It's all going to be about villains. It could just be a group, kind of like the Power Rangers and the Psycho Rangers. And if you don't get that reference, well, either you're too young or you're too old. But definitely, it was awesome as a series, and I think that's what's going to happen here as well. So Bucky goes on a hunt for Zemo, which was pretty easy to find, as Zemo told him straight up, hey, I'm going to Latvia to, pay my respects at the memorial, and you guys should definitely check it out, seeing that you guys probably never did. So Bucky does find Zemo, points a gun at him, removes the safety, and clicks, but nothing happens because, basically he didn't load the gun. Zemo at that point was willing and ready to leave this world because he had, completed his mission. He's removed, or, to some degree, all of the super soldiers, or at least prevented any other super soldiers from being created. So in his mind, he's, he's completed his mission and kept his promise he made to his wife and to his family and to himself. So he was more than willing to, take that bullet. However, the living is not done with him yet. They basically come in, take him, and you would think that the Dora Milaje would, take him back to Wakanda, but they don't. They actually take him to the raft. So the raft is this super, the super prison, if you will. We do see it in Captain America: Civil War, where they kept Sam, Ant-Man, Hawkeye. So, definitely he'll be able to stay there for quite a bit of time. However, the raft is ran by by Ross. Ross, does initiate the Thunderbolt as well. So, will he, free Zemo to some extent to create the Thunderbolt? We're going to have to see. Does Ross, flip switch and become a villain? Well, we're going to see later on as well. And the end credits, I've seen people mention it, and we kind of do see it as well, that Ross has been, toying with modifying or modification of, genes and splicing. So he can very well be, creating also, or being a part of the Thunderbolt, and creating maybe also the Red Hulk. But we're way ahead of ourselves. Let's get back into it. So we get to see Isaiah Bradley having a one-on-one with Sam. We see that he's not an enraged person by heart. He's there doing his little gardening, taking it easy. And when Sam comes in, he doesn't, he's not aggressive at all. I think it was more because of Bucky, that he may have been, remembering when Bucky maybe first encountered him, or realizing rather that the blood that he had to give up was so that the more privileged, like Bucky and not Captain America, but the rest of the preferred soldiers got to have because of him. And this moment, he has a little one-on-one. He kind of tells us that he didn't serve World War II. It is more the Korean War because of the timeline. It also makes sense given the age that he has. Then again, he may also be slowing down his aging. But anyways, he also mentions that his wife passed away while waiting for him. Whereas in the books, she actually survives, and they actually meet once he comes out. So that's definitely even more saddening. We do see Elijah once again, playing basketball. Weren't giving a lot of detail on him. They're just hint dropping who he is, kind of like the other new or young Avengers throughout the MCU. We've only seen them here and there. They've never really had their own time to shine, and I think that's something with the MCU that they like to do, is again with the Easter eggs, make you realize that something's going on, kind of like the Princess Bar with Wolverine. It's okay, the fans will know, and because of these kind of like shows and channels, everybody kind of gets to know it as well. But it's only later on they go heavy on and just straight up introduce these characters. Just like Agent 13, as we do not know if she is actually the power broker or somebody who works at a power broker. Signs are kind of pointing towards she being, or her rather, being the power broker. She works with Batroc, who said in the first episode that he's working with the power broker, and he straight up says, I lost half my men. She's like, I don't care, I'll pay you double, get the job done. Who we know Batroc is, in the park later on with Carly Morgenthau, giving her ammunition, giving her, giving her weapons, and basically gearing her up. So there's definitely going to be a betrayal in the 6th episode. It's going to be crazy. We have Captain 2.0. We have Sam. We have, I don't know if Bucky's going to be there, but we also have Batroc and Power Broker all going after Carly, while Carly kind of figures, I'm going to do these things and kind of get away with it as we go. It is just going to be crazy. The finale, is it going to be as violent? I think it is. I think it's just going to be this big brawl, Super Smash style. People are going to get ringed out. It's going to be definitely cool. So speaking of Super Smash Brothers, we also get this Nintendo Easter egg where basically Sarah tells Sam, hey, when you're up there doing a barrel roll, well, a barrel roll is when Fox McCloud, so your character in Star Fox 64, actually takes his ship and flips it around for a mission. Actually, you can do it afterwards as a new move. Your whole screen kind of flips around as well. And this Easter egg is actually in a lot of shows and a lot of other games. So if you would actually type up on Google, right, do a barrel roll, it would actually flip your screen around. And I'll give you a moment to do that afterwards. But yeah, it's definitely a cool nod. And yeah, I mean, he does do a few barrel rolls as he's fighting. So kudos to Marvel for giving Nintendo a little shout out, and also to the community, gaming community, comic community, pop culture community. So Sam is now back home. He's trying to keep that balance between family, his missions, and also the legacy, which I guess is all part of his legacy. Now with Isaiah Bradley, his words telling him, the world's not ready for a black Captain America. By holding up the shield or hoisting up the shield, you be basically dishonoring or, doing a disservice to your community. Sam kind of sees that, like, no, despite, his sister, even feeding other kids for other families, It's all about the community. It's all about togetherness. So even when he asked for help, for people to help with the boat, they all came to him. So, or to them rather. So it's not to say that, people won't come to your help, as he needs to be there now for them as well. And in the big way, by filling in those Captain America shoes. Just as, you saw his nephews, play around with the shield, and they had a sense of pride, which, brought us to this montage moment where Sam is basically, doing the runs. Well, not doing the runs, but is running, throwing the shield around and testing it out at different velocity. So definitely a rocky, moment for him. And Steve has this moment as well when he's at training camp. We see them going through the whole montage, the push-ups, the running. So definitely a cool homage and a great way to, again, another side of duality between Sam and Steve Rogers. So we did see the Captain 2.0, which easy gain, easy loss. Sam, really had to work for it. He's still working on it, working for it. He's trying to understand, is he deserving of it? And I think that's what's going to, in the end, is going to make him a good or a great Captain America later on. It's not because he is in lack of the serum that he won't be, as strong at heart as Steve Rogers was. That being said, we also get this one-on-one with Bucky and Sam. They finally, amend bridges. I mean, they've kind of been buddies throughout, but now there's been more of a friendship, like a bromance, if you will, that gets, created. We do learn that Steve does tell Bucky before doing his whole plan of his plans that he was going to go back in the past. He was going to, create his own little life, come back and give the shield to Sam. And Bucky gives him his blessings, or maybe it was even Bucky that suggested the shield goes to Sam. When we see the scene where Bucky has the shield and he also gives it to Sam, like, it's in his head already, and it should be within, or he thought it should be in Sam's head as well. Like, you are the next Captain America. This belongs to you now. Like, treat it as you would your own. Anyway. So we also learn about Steve's little, black book. And at first we thought it was a parallel between, like, Steve's bucket list and, like, Bucky's, like, Bucky list of people needs, amending. But nobody needs avenging, as Sam said. It's all about, doing your due diligence and actually helping these people rather than just say you're sorry. That's what's going to make a bigger impact. And I think the reason why Captain also gave them his book was to be like, look, I did the research. Like, everybody, when I came back 100 years later, was like, these are the things you should do. And because he knows now Bucky is also back, no longer with the Winter Soldier, but, himself now, he can also enjoy these things after coming back after so long. So he's really giving his friend, not only a bit of advice, but encouragement to enjoy himself, after all those years of torment, which I thought it was a great move from, the Cap himself. And we're still seeing, repercussions and ripples from his good deeds. So we are going to wrap things up real quick with a few predictions that we have. So as we mentioned, Carly is going to be against the world. She's going to be against the government. She's going to be against Batroc, who may betray her. Power Broker, who's also fighting alongside Batroc. She's also going to be fighting against Captain 2.0. She will be fighting against Sam, who's going to have a new suit provided by Wakanda. So will this be a black suit with the red? The reason why I say that is because also Bucky's arm had the black and gold, similarly to the Black Panther suit. So maybe it might be that rendition. If not, it's going to be the red, white, and blue with the, white star in the, on the chest, to kind of implement and push the idea that he is the Captain America, which we've seen also in the Sam Wilson Captain America story arc. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a brawl all the way through. Everyone is super powered. Everyone is souped up. Adamantium wings. I mean, it's going to be crazy. Speaking of adamantium wings, somebody does not have an adamantium shield. And if you stay for the end credits, this is where it gets crazy. You see Captain 2.0 basically welding his own version of the shield, spray painting it and all with the big star. quite actually a cool, copy. I'm pretty sure you're going to see this get torn to pieces, especially against the adamantium wings. He's not going to catch a break. It's so bad, but at least when he becomes the US agent and gets recruited by the Thunderbolts, he's definitely going to want payback, against these guys. It's just going to push him even more off the edge. And again, we may even have a little opening towards the Thunderbolt. Maybe a little couch scene, where he's like, what do I do now? And she kind of like appears and says, well, I'm initiating a team. Yeah, it's going to be the whoop-ass initiative. What are your thoughts? We would love to have you comment below. What are your thoughts of the new shield? Well, the new shield. This hubcap wannabe type shield with the paint. I mean, his soldering technique is a little lacking, but I mean, it did look pretty clean at the end. I mean, with the paint and all, with the embossed star. I mean, he definitely could win at Forge of Fires. But yeah, what do you think of this whole direction? What do you think of also the Thunderbolt? This whole crew just being a bunch of villains. Kind of sounds like Suicide Squad, but they're all about, destruction and villainous kind of things. Yeah. Hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to follow. If WandaVision has shown us anything, is that the finale opens up a floodgates of how does it tie into the other series of the MCU. So may it be Loki, may it be Hawkeye, maybe it ties into, Black Widow, the movie, or maybe the Young Avengers. We don't know. We're going to find that out. Peace, everybody. Bye.